Chapter 7: The Eagle and the Human Personality. I flapped my wings as hard as I could, doing the work to lead me to the point of freedom. The place where I could just glide through the sky, swoop down cliffs, over ocean's currents, and just be. I could sing as I moved through each present moment with complete and utter focus on that which lay in front of me, while completely surrendering to the universe that lay within me. I knew if I led from that vantage point, my life in this form would guide me so it would be exactly what it was meant to be. What all of us in the Cove wanted humans to understand was this: every human is predominantly a product of what they witness and experience from the time they are born. Therefore, it is no wonder the world looks like a washing machine stuck on the same cycle. The only way to break that cycle is to break the individual karmic cycles that humans are stuck in. Every cell in the human body is pervaded not only by consciousness, but also by the memory of one's ancestors. From that one cell given to the human by each parent, 36 trillion cells spring forth, each holding decades of encoded memories of pain, suffering, bliss, and disease of their ancestors. It is why these conversations with the human was so important. To make all humans understand that if they do not want the lives of their children and grandchildren to mirror theirs, then they would have to break their karmic cycle. That cycle could only be broken if they understood themselves, their ancestors, and why their consciousness had chosen the body and life it had. Karma is one of the most widely used and misunderstood words in the human vocabulary. It can mean either action or the result of action, but it is mostly used to denote the reactions to past actions. No action goes without a reaction, even if that reaction does not arrive until years later. When the time is right, a karmic reaction will rise to the surface and express itself. What causes an act in the first place are kleshas, the coloring of impressions, because neutral impressions hold no power and do not manifest into action or words. When you do karma, you reap karma. Yoga understands that it only takes one strong karma, a repetitive act, to give rise to the specific body and life into which all living beings are born, because it is through a chosen form in life that karma can fully express its reaction. For example, if in a former incarnation you sat in a place of power and used that power to force thousands of men to change religions and punish them if they did not, then at some point that karma, now inscribed in your consciousness, will enter a specific body and life to reap the consequences of those actions. A life in which you may be beautiful and courted by powerful religious men, who will then abandon you because you do not follow their religion. Those men will not only arrive in your life for you to pay your karmic debt, but also to give you an opportunity to break that karma by learning to forgive yourself and to walk away from those men without anger or resentment. Connected to that one strong karma that determines the next incarnation of your conscious energy, there are several smaller karmas that will likewise use the form to express themselves. Some karmas will be good, and you will enjoy the reactions to previous good acts. Others will be painful, as karma is paying a debt. And all the while these karmas from pre-existing acts are coming to fruition, you are creating new karmas in this incarnation to be fulfilled in the present form or in future incarnations. No matter how pure you may try to live your life, once a karma has started its journey, the momentum of seeking to fulfill the reaction to the action will continue for as long as the body that the karma has allotted to itself remains. Although one has no control over past karmas and the reactions they will reap, the human does have control over how they will respond to those karmas and in the creation of new ones. This is where yoga creates lasting and fundamental change. It provides the understanding that a happy or unhappy life is one's own creation from one's own behaviors, thoughts, and actions. I was looking forward to today's story because today we would begin to hand Corey the tools of change. My pondering ceased as I began to approach the Cove of Magic. I knew Corey would already be there, for I had asked Eagle to fetch him because I had been forced to travel a little further than normal to catch my food. Ocean was being raped by the humans' bottomless desire for fish, and I sometimes wondered if the problem was that there was just too many humans. Could you imagine what destruction 8 billion elephants would cause to the planet? Or 8 billion of any one of our species? Is that not because it disrupts the whole ecosystem that humans culled us when our numbers grew too large? I began to move into the present as I saw a baobab in my bird's eye. I could hear the chatter filled with joy rising off ocean and earth. It felt good to be back among all them. As I landed on Elephant's back, a hush descended and I could feel Corey's gaze piercing my soul. I knew the human, so I knew he was wondering if he had done something wrong or if my love for him was feeble as he had experienced love to be. Hello, my fellow beings. Thank you for waiting for me today. I am sorry I am late, and Corey, I deeply apologize for not being able to escort you here today. No doubt Hawk kept you adequately entertained and was nothing short of charm. It is getting harder for us to find fish in the places where we once hunted, as we have rightly so put a moratorium on any of us in this magical kingdom eating the other. Therefore, I had to travel further than normal to feed myself today. Corey's relief was as tangible as was the empathy from all those that were gathered, for most of them were in the same predicament. Now, if you don't mind, I'm going to take a little wash in the majestic, energetic healing powers of Ocean. I shall cuddle a few of you that have gathered in Ocean, and then we shall begin today's class. I then flew back to Baobab and perched beside Corey. He had made his way to higher limbs where he now sat surrounded by hummingbirds, bees, butterflies, ants, and caterpillars. I began. The spiritual journey, Corey, is not out in space or at a retreat in India, at Mecca, or in any app or in any time. It is within each and every single one of you humans. It is the path from ignorance about who and what you are to knowledge of your true self. And this, my friend, is a mission because spirituality has been placed in so many boxes, such as religion, hippies, hocus pocus, that you humans now tend to shy away from it. You see it as brainwashing, and rightly so, because knowledge has too often been misused by your species for power and money. Why is yoga not taught to every human? I'll tell you why. Because this knowledge of the true self, if every human were to learn it, it would dramatically change the world as you now know it. The world would shift from a place of fear that keeps being fed to humans in all media forms to a place of light, love, kindness, and compassion to all living beings and to oneself, thereby removing the influence of those in power over all of us. How do you find that infinite conscious reality within yourselves? Fear not, we are getting there. First, you must understand where it resides in you, and thus we have arrived at koshas, the 5 interlocking sheets in the human personality. It is your attachment to all these sheets that prevents you from knowing your true self, a self that pervades all the sheets but are also separate from them. I will briefly explain all 5 of them to you today, and when I am done, we will launch into the 8 limbs of yoga, which I like to call the toolkit to inner peace and happiness. I know I said we would start the limbs today, but it may not happen. Sometimes even I forget the enormity of this discipline. Too often, yoga teachers and students reduce yoga to half-naked photos of themselves in all sorts of convoluted positions. Imagine if Buddhism were represented that way, by half-naked teachers in meditative poses. I rolled my eyes and nature let out a chuckle, imagining what the Dalai Lama would think. Now, Corey, follow me and I shall guide you through the layers or sheets most popularly known as your personality. By now, the whole of nature had read my thoughts, and it was useless trying to hide my enormous crush from a place of non-attachment on the human. Please know that the layers are not based on their placement in the body. Instead, they are defined according to how subtle they are. We will start with the layer that is most gross and slowly move to the layers that are way more subtle. When asked, "Who are you?" most humans will point to their body and say, "This is who I am." But is it really you? The outermost sheath, the body as you call it, is also known as Annamaya Kosha, the food body. In you humans, the entire skeletal muscular framework, your organs, autonomous nervous system, sense organs, and so forth, falls within this sheath. It is a modification of what you eat and drink influenced by your lifestyle. I once heard someone say that the body is food rearranged. For this reason, it is also known as the earth body and the gross body. But how can you be the body when the body is constantly changing, and yet there are so many aspects of you that remain the same? The body is an object that can be touched, felt, smelled, and experienced by the five senses. So how can you know the body and experience it if you are the body? You cannot. It is not possible for both the knower and to be both the knower and the known. When you look at the hand, is it you, the knower, observing the hand? It is not the hand observing you, because how bizarre would that be? When you begin to understand this, you stop attaching your sense of self to your body. In you humans, this attachment to the body is what ages you. As the body begins to wither away, you age with it due to the attachment of your sense of self to it. Another way to view your body is to see it as the temple that houses your soul. Therefore, it should be kept healthy because it houses you and because an unhealthy body will negatively affect all the other sheaths. Corey, every philosophy in your world will tell you that you are not your body. Remember that you chose this body to satisfy your karmas. This body you hold is a tool for consciousness to experience nature and to purify itself. Your soul will continue to exist long after your body dies. If you are lucky and do the work in your next incarnation, you may just end up with the body of an eagle. At this, I smiled at Corey and all of nature erupted, murmuring on, "Why not our bodies? Why their bodies?" They all began to examine their bodies, pointing out the magnificence in their flippers, their colors, their trunks, and their flowers. I allowed the detour because it is always nice to acknowledge one's vessel in all its beauty from a place of non-attached observation. Though these days humans were creating a definition of beauty through the media that was nearly impossible for anyone to attain, and left most humans feeling just a little ugly. How ridiculous! Beauty radiates from the inside out, not the other way around. The deep laugh we all loved so much from the belly of earth upward and outward vibrated us all into silence. "You funny beings, all of you," she said eagle's body because, well, you know why. "Ah, yes," the chorus hummed in perfect unison, creating a transformation in the color of Corey's body from luminous to red. "Shall we continue?" I laughed, enjoying Corey's discomfort, as in it his feelings were reflected outward instead of buried inward. "Now, Corey, each limb of yoga contributes to the overall balancing of the entire body and prepares it for you to connect to your true self and to not constantly be pulled by all the layers that come with being a human. Some limbs have a greater effect on the certain sheath than others. In the Annamaya Kosha, the greatest influencer besides a healthy diet and lifestyle are asanas, which in time we will dive into deeper. So now that you understand you are not your body, that you must be something infinitely more subtle, let's look a little deeper and see if we can find you. The next sheath is the Pranamaya Kosha, the energy body which is influenced by the health of the Annamaya Kosha. It is the layer associated with the movement of energy, the life force, through nadis, which Western science calls nerves and in Chinese medicine are called meridians. The movement of energy in your body is essential to maintaining the processes of digestion, assimilation of oxygen, and the removal of carbon dioxide. The flow of energy influences the processing, creation, and movement of chemicals and hormones. It also maintains the flow of blood that keeps your body alive and so forth. All these systems are fueled through the use of breath to influence the movement of energy, also known as prana, throughout your body. This layer has more influence on your health than the gross body because it drives all your systems. In Chinese medicine, it is known as qi, in yoga as prana. In both Chinese medicine and Ayurvedic medicine, it is this layer that they work on to bring balance and health back into the human, not the gross body layer that Western medicine investigates for health. But like the first layer, this layer is also ever-changing as prana moves like waves throughout the body. Sometimes you feel energetic, other times not so much. But you are still the same person, are you not? When you meditate with breath, who is observing the breath? You are. So once again, you are the observer, the knower, and prana is the known. You are conscious of it. For all these reasons and so many more, you are not your prana, you are something deeper. And like the first layer, it is important to keep prana flowing freely without blockages and stagnation, such that you may go deeper into yourself. The next layer, defined in its simplest form, is Manomaya Kosha, which translates as the mental body or the mind, and refers to your thoughts, your emotions, your entire personality. Most humans define themselves by their thoughts, feelings, emotions, likes, dislikes, and so forth. They say this is their personality. But hold on, are you not aware of your mind? Is the mind not something you experience? Is your personality not something you experience? Therefore, how can you be your mind? The mind is an object of knowledge, and you are the knower. I once heard that humans have on average 16,000 thoughts a day. The vast majority are repetitive thoughts, not unique creative thoughts, because that would make all of you geniuses. In addition to this avalanche of thoughts, there are also a host of desires that compete for your attention constantly. These are many and you are one, so how can you be your thoughts and your desires? Corey, did you know that the word personality stems from the Latin word person, that referred to the masks worn by performers in order to protect different roles or disguise their identities on stage? That is what your mind does. It creates multiple personalities through attachments, all of which serve to keep you from knowing your true identity, which is your soul. And this is where the journey of meditation begins. The place where in the silence between breaths you begin to observe the mind and realize that you are not your mind. So let us look a little deeper, shall we? The fourth layer is Vijnanamaya Kosha, for also known as the intellect, the buddhi, or known to many of you as the frontal thinking cortex. Yes, it is a part of the mind, but here a distinction in function is made. The intellect seeks to understand through analysis and introspection. Is this layer you, Corey? You may think so, because it is here that we most often use the word I. But are you not aware of this process in you when you say such things as I am confused, I don't understand, or I understand? Are you not aware when you engage in your intellect that you are doing so? If so, then you cannot be your intellect either, because it is still an object of awareness, even if it is much more subtle than the other layers. As with the other layers, this too changes constantly, and yet you always feel the same. Remember, Corey, the self is the unchanging witness of the intellect, the bed below the oceanic mind. As you move deeper into the layers of meditation, you will come to realize this. Let's go just a little deeper into the last layer, shall we? The Annamaya Kosha, the place few humans reach or even know exists. It is here that the sages, saints, mystics, and gurus separate themselves from most humans. It is the state of deep sleep where there is no awareness of the body, no dreams, and even you are not aware you are in a deep sleep, because the mind and the intellect have shut down. Yet, still something remains such that upon waking you can say, I slept like a log. If there was no awareness of the depth of your sleep, you would merely say, I went to sleep and then I woke up. It is here that you meet the Annamaya Kosha, the place of deep, untroubled rest, the sheath of bliss. In this state, one experiences feelings of joy, pure love for all the universe, and illumination. It can be reached in the highest levels of meditation once all the other sheaths have been purified. Some say the path to this sheath is through selfless service to all living beings and surrendering to the universe that exists within in samadhi, the state of intensely focused meditation. It is the thinnest sheath and closest to the soul or pure consciousness that although it pervades all 5 sheaths, it is not any one of them. I can see this is a lot for you, Corey, so let me summarize these 5 sheaths in a way for you that will make it a little more clearer. Look at your hand and all the bones, tendons, ligaments, and muscles that make it up. This is your Annamaya Kosha. As you lift your hand, the energy that enables you to lift it is the Pranamaya Kosha. The thought you engaged in to lift your hand is the Manomaya Mind Kosha. The feeling that I'm lifting my hand, the action and identification with it, is the Vijnanamaya Kosha. The joy you feel in lifting your hand because perhaps you injured it and have not been able to move it until now rises from the Andamaya Kosha. These, Corey, are the 5 layers of the human personality, ever changing, constantly transforming, while your sense of you remains steady. So where is your true self? It is not in these sheaths. Well, let me tell you a famous little story told among yogis that may create some clarification for you. One day, 10 friends crossed a river that was flowing quickly and filled with obstacles. When they reached the other side, they stopped to count if they were all there. One of them asked the others to line up and began to count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. "Oh my gosh," he wailed, "the 10th of us is drowned," and they all began to mourn. Another among them asked the others to stop sobbing. "It's not possible," he said, "that we have lost one of us." He asked them all to line up again, and this time he counted. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. "Oh my God, you are right. One of us is drowned." At this, they all dropped to the ground and began to sob. Just then, a yogi walked by and asked them, "Why are you all crying?" "Well," one of them explained, "there was 10 of us. We all crossed the river, and one of us drowned." The yogi took a quick count and counted 10, so he asked, "How do you know the 10th one drowned?" "Well, because we counted, and there are only 9 of us." The yogi calmed them down and reassured them that all 10 of them were there. He lined them all up and asked one of them to count again. And so he began. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. "See," he moaned, "there are only 9. The yogi grabbed his hand and turned it toward himself and said, "You are the 10th. But they were still not sure. So one of the other friends tried the same thing, and voila, all 10 appeared. Upon discovering that they were all there, they all erupted into great laughter. Once they had released their worry through laughter, the yogi turned to all 10 of them and said, "Do not worry. You humans do the same thing in your life all the time. You keep missing the soul because you are seeking an object outside of your true self, in your sheaths or in the external world. The 10th one is not out there in the world or in your layers. It is you, the one who is seeking, the observer of all. The entire field of yogic knowledge can be divided into the known and the unknown. However, there is always a knower. If you think the soul is something you can know, then you are mistaken. If you think it is something unknown to you, then you are still sitting in ignorance. The soul is the knower. It is the subject, not the object of knowledge." I think that is enough for today. Do you not? "Yar," purred Leopard, as he seemed to rise out of a mental coma. "Corey, you humans sure have it tough. It is no wonder you suffer so much, attached to all these constantly shifting and transient sheets. I gotta say, I feel pretty grateful to be a leopard, no matter how hard you humans are making life for me." As the next moment arrived, all of nature sprung to life and began to dance with their bodies. They used their breath to move prana through them so they could do backflips, somersaults, rolls, jumps, sways, anything that their body allowed for. Today's story had made them all grateful that they were not human because they were learning that to be human was no easy feat. Just when we had all forgotten about the human, Corey jumped off the limb on which he sat and started to salsa with the orangutan. As he twirled and dipped her, all of nature stopped and their mouths, beaks, petals opened and stared at him. "Hey, human," shouted Walrus, all his blubber wobbling as he did. "What are you so happy about? Have you forgotten you are a human?" Corey stopped and slowly made his way onto the rock where the walrus splayed himself. He had the largest smile for a guy to whom we had just shown the layer upon layer he would have to work through to reach his soul. "I'm happy, well, because there's a light in my tunnel. There's always light when one learns knowledge of oneself, because then there's hope for change, for a life different from the one I sit in now. It helps that I have started practicing asanas and pranayama daily, which lends to such feelings of calmness and joy. But mostly I'm happy because the more I understand myself, the more joy I find in experiencing the human form from a place of awareness and non-attachment." When he stopped talking, we all stared at him for a moment, dumbfounded by his words. Then the moment passed and the birds began to whistle, the whales began to beat the drum of their bodies against ocean, and soon the whole of nature was playing their tunes and dancing in joy for the human. When we had exhausted ourselves, I turned to the human. "Shall we?" "We shall," he replied. He turned to the gathering and omed, and then he placed his hands on his heart and bowed his head. "May you all be well until we meet again. May you be treated with kindness and respect from my species. May we learn to see you and acknowledge the light that shines in you, shines in us as well. May you be free to live from your place of love and not from fear of us, and may I wake up every day in a place of gratitude for all the love and light you have poured into me from the moment you entered my life." Nature bowed back to him and we slowly walked back toward duality. "Thank you, Eagle, for not giving up on me. As you can see, we are not simple beings." I landed gently on Corey's shoulder. "Truth be told, it has never been my choice to make. The universe has pulled me to you. This is our path, and for as long as we may walk it, I shall revel in the joy it brings me, layers and all. But I should warn you now, Corey, the more you follow this path, the more solitary it will become. As you change, fewer and fewer people will understand you, even though you will understand them because you were once them. But in that void, a bliss will rise that will accompany you everywhere, such that loneliness is something you will never feel. Did you know that when you feel lonely, it is not another, but yourself, that your connection to your soul and to all of life that you are missing? Understand that you are complete just as you are. That when you finally connect, that loneliness will disappear, and what will arrive in its place is solitude, joy, and a deep sense of peace with yourself. This is why so many relationships fail, because humans enter them expecting the other to complete them. That is impossible expectation to put on another, let alone on yourself. Now, I must leave you here. I rubbed my cheek against his. His smell, his energy, the feel of him was beyond anything I'd ever experienced. If only love felt like this. For everyone. He rubbed the back of my neck and then I launched off his shoulder and back into sky. When I looked down, I saw him standing there looking up at me, smiling, for he was beginning to know how to read my thoughts.